Take two. Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 14 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, inventor of the Creative Feet line of sewing machine products. And today I'm going to finish up this bag that I started and have been working on for the last few episodes of Fabrically Speaking Live, which airs every Thursday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it shows that the mic is on, but I'm not hearing it come through. So hopefully I start hearing it here. Oh, I know I'm not hearing it here because I'm not in my feed. Let's see. Still adjusting to my new surroundings. Sorry about the delay. Oh, and everything is trying to lead me somewhere else today. Oh, you can hear me? Because I still can't hear me. Oh my goodness. Jeez. I'm going to start over, and then I'm going to delete the front end of this video so no one else has to go through this. Take 3 or 4. Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 14 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, inventor of the Creative Feet line of sewing machine products. And today I'm going to finish up this bag that I've been working on. I keep getting a little bit slowed down by trying new things, and I'm known for that because we have the Creative Feet, which let you do so many things you can't do with traditional sewing machine feet. So I get carried away, and you guys seem to like it, right? Last week you were saying, I'm glad that you design as you go instead of having it all planned out. Is that true? How many of you like that I kind of just wing it as I design something? Hopefully all the cameras are working here. Yay! So last week I inserted this pocket into the side of this bag, and it has vinyl lining to insert my river shoes into from the outside of the bag when they're dirty. That way I don't get anything else dirty inside the bag. If you've ever used water shoes and gotten them all dirty, you know what I'm talking about. So what I have here is, I removed the stabilizer, by the way. I didn't use the right kind of fusible stabilizer. I accidentally used Appliquic's stabilizer, so I had to remove it, and it's a little bit heavier than I would recommend anyway. So going back to the episode where I had the fusible on there, use a traditional fusible. Inside the bag I also have additional pockets for putting ice packs in, and maybe some apples and cool items. This pocket will be inside, and the bag will close up. So this morning I was trying to determine how I want my straps. Originally I was thinking of an old over-the-shoulder bag, and I would have a corner strap come down to the other corner, and it would kind of just sloppily hang over my shoulder. But now that I've made it wider, I'm leaning toward a traditional strap. Maybe straps on the 2 ends that go over, or 2 straps opening up. What should I do? 1 strap or 2 straps? Help me know. Hi Shirley. Hi Mary. Hi Karen. Teresa PW. Not sure who you are, but you got a picture, which is nice. Looks like everybody's making their profile unique. Hint, hint, those of you who just have a letter for your name. All right, so back to this camera. Now that I have the pocket, and what I did off camera was I sewed around all three sides of the pocket, not all the way to the top, because I need to place or position the zipper that I did using piping. And for those of you who didn't get to see it up close, this is the actual zipper. As you can see, I have decorative stitching. This is actually the blanket stitch that I used to stitch 2 rows of corded piping around the zipper. This was done using the pearls and piping foot. This zipper was a little bit longer than I needed, so I did cut and use the traditional tabbing method. But then I decided to add a little bit more flair so that it would show through the opening in the side pocket, not just be the zipper itself, but be this decorative cording. If you like that and you like to be able to sew piping like that, then you'll want to check out my pearls and piping foot. And this foot lets you sew not only over cording, but it also lets you sew over the zipper teeth. So this foot sews anything round and a variety of different widths, so not just narrow widths, even this 1/4 inch wide cording. So now getting the zipper to stay in position, I found all my cords for my CutterPillar tablets. So excited. And I'm also needing a break from this kind of sewing for next week. So I was leaning toward doing something a little bit more artistic and would like your guys' input on what you'd like to see me teach next week. Do any of the rest of you tend to sew like that, like Amy, kind of instinctually instead of well planned and well thought out? Have any of you ever designed something and not used a pattern? It's kind of like cooking without a recipe. Now, if you need recipes, I do have my Creative Feet Technical Guide and Workbook that comes with instructions on not making an actual pattern, but sewing different techniques like you see me do on the show. While I sewed a bag using techniques that were in my notebook. And this book also has there's a video that supports it. And right now we have a coupon running at creativefeet.com. You should always try the coupon code MEMBER, because you never know when it's running and the discounts vary. Today the coupon is 15% off. Sequin and ribbon foot sews elastic and rickrack, and so this helps you to learn how to do the technique without having to do an actual project. That way, when you do decide to do a project, you can then just pick a technique and add it into your pattern. Knowing that the vinyl doesn't glue well, I'm going to use pins to hold the zipper in place while I attach it to the front pocket. I don't want the back to get stitched right now, so I'm going to pull the back away. Now we just have this empty window. Are we getting interference? I feel like I'm getting a little interference in the microphone. Do any of you hear? I a vibrating sound. I definitely feel like I'm hearing something. Maybe the volume's too high. Testing 1, 2, 3. I think what I'm going to do is trim this down because this will be easier. Oh, that was the whole point, showing you the zipper or the piping wizard in action. My wizard. What we want is to have these seam allowances match up so that you can just sew along the seam allowance to secure that zipper to the top of the pocket. And I was going to show you a really cool tool to do that, but I put it somewhere. I don't want to make you wait any longer than I've already made you wait. Making sure I don't cut anything behind. And what really is important that the seam allowance is the same so that when I sew along that edge, I actually have it be nice and centered inside of this opening. So it's this edge. Itty bitty rulers. I need to grab one of my rulers. And the reason I took and put it offset is because I had one that didn't have the right brand on it. So I'm going to grab my right one. Be right back. It's tight squeeze in my studio. Sometimes when you invent a product, you license it to other companies. And when Linda McGee from Gee's Patterns invented this ruler, she licensed it to another company at one point, and is back to selling it herself. We are having a monsoon storm right now. So crossing fingers that the lightning doesn't hit the building and make the power go out. That did happen. Yeah, I think I had the mic too loud because I'm not hearing the interference anymore. Thank goodness. This ruler has grooves in it, and these grooves are designed for you to place over piping. So like this one right here is designed for this quarter-inch piping, but the size of the piping I used for the zipper was 1/8 inch. And if you flip this ruler over, now you have 1/8 inch grooves, and you have two of them, 16th inch on one side, 1/8 inch on the other. And if you put the groove on one side of the piping, you get a 5/8 inch seam allowance. And if you move the groove over and place it on the zipper and put it in this channel, now you have a spacing of 1/4 inch on that side. So you choose which seam allowance you'd like to use, and then select which groove works to make your seam allowance after you've already inserted your piping to be the seam allowance you need to then insert it into the actual project like I'm going to do now. So here's the piping. Right there. And there's the zipper. To do this, I think the best way for me to do this is to open the zipper up so I can get this to sit on top of the cording. There we go. A lot easier than using scissors. There are days when I question whether or not I should go live. And this was one of them. Sometimes I'm just a little bit off. I'm looking through the channel, making sure that I am looking at both sides, making sure that my piping is in that channel, and it is. I have really trashed this cutting board. I got the grooves going so many different directions that it doesn't want to cut. There we go. Do the same thing on this side. I have a bigger rotary blade. This is why we need so many cutting devices, right? What is going on this board? And I just realized we don't even have the replacement cutting mats on our site, so we just have the one that doesn't have lines as an additional mat. So I'll be adding these mats for those of you who need to get a new one, because after a while they do get worn out, just like any other cutting mat would. Sure wish the glue would hold on to the vinyl. I have to really think to use pins now. You could feel Amy going, close those cutting devices. This is really not a 1/4 inch. I can see it better here. This becomes really important when you're doing a quilt. It's very awkward with all this extra fabric here. I'm just going to really try hard to straighten this out. Okay, this is me being real. So thinking it through again. Adding of the vinyl definitely made it a little bit more challenging because it's slippery. So having something to weigh down the fabric, keep it from slipping. Just so we can pin it. I like to have my open on the left, closed on the right. Before I do this, I get the option of either way. We'll see how good this works. First, I want to at least pin the ends. Well, it's getting hot in here already. What temperature is it where you guys are today? I'm just having one of those days. think I'm tempted to do a top stitch instead of sewing it the other way. Because doing a top stitch using the purls and piping foot is could be a lot more reliable than me trying to do that seam allowance. Let's pin that in place. And I will take it to the sewing machine. This lighting's a little weird. Oh, I know what it is. I left a window open, so it's got weird light coming through. I hope that doesn't bother you. Now let me know if it does. If it does, then I will go and shut the blinds. With the purls and piping foot, it has a little washer on the bar, so you can just slide it left to right. And what that does is it moves the piping over instead of you having to move the needle over. Take and place this beneath the sewing machine needle, and I'm going to set the foot on top of the piping with the right needle position. Make it so you can see till I can figure out how to get a camera to have a better angle. Now the foot rides over the piping, and the needle will be locked to the piping because the foot will lock to the actual piping itself. I'm plugging in my phone real quick. So what's the difference between a top stitch and an edge stitch, you guys? First part of this I'm going to do with the zipper closed. I have the washer right now to the left, but I may change my mind and switch it. I don't usually know until I move the needle where I want it. And if I can't get my needle in one of the needle positions to land on top of the fabric where I want it. So without vinyl, I would highly recommend gluing with the liquid-based glue, the zipper in the opening. The thunder's getting really loud. Getting a little scary over here. So I'm moving my needle to the right needle position, and it does go far enough. Hi, Brenda. 87 degrees, but lower humidity. There's also people doing something outside making a lot of noise. Can you guys hear that, or is it okay? So my goal is to just keep the edge, the folded edge of the top of the pocket lined up with the side of the piping. And I got it to just kind of go over here. I'm just kind of, I don't know, off today. Reverse. I'm going to try to have the needle in the fabric, but bring it up to where it's almost out. And then see if I can't unzip without actually having to tie a knot. This is when it's nice to have someone in the sewing room that can hold on to that while you lift. Or if you have one of the knee lifts that lifts your foot up. I do not have either. I do have a knee lift, but I'm too short to use it. So just in case I pulled some slack of thread, I just raise the foot and then pull the thread. So take the thread that's coming from my thread dispenser, and I just pull the slack back, and it pulls any thread that came out as a result of me raising the foot and not tying a knot and stopping and starting. Then now it's all back up on the thread on the spool, and there won't be a loop on top. Have you guys ever had a loop created and wondered how to get rid of it? If you have, give me a comment. Tell me about it. I'd like to know what you did. Here we go. Always make sure that the pearls and piping foot is actually down, because it's thicker. And sometimes if your piping is thick, it'll seem like it's lowered, but then it's not, and you get knots on the backside of your sewing. Now I don't have anything glued, and I'm not having to pay any attention to the zipper, just the piping and keeping the fabric right up against the side of it. So I can go a lot quicker, run the machine faster, in other words. Come to the corner and stop with the needle in the down position. Lift and turn. Now I need to make sure that I don't get too much of the pocket underneath this. I want to make sure that if I took my hand and slide my hand inside, that the back side of this is tucked away, which feels weird to my brain because I feel like I should be trying to catch it. And when I go across like this thick areas and the teeth of zippers, I always run the machine slower. And also I'll raise the foot and move it a stitch and then lower the foot and use the hand wheel for a couple stitches just to help the fabric not get puckered as it goes over. And remember, nothing is glued or pinned, so we're working with really thick fabric next to really thin fabric. I'm rolling up my bag so that none of these elements can get caught. My daughter just tried to call. I need to let her know I'm live. I had a wonderful time on my vacation with my daughter. And miss her terribly. And what's really cool is I think she misses her mommy too. Now you guys know what my ringer sounds like. She thought my ringer was too depressing, so I got a new one the other day. I like classical music. Do you guys like classical music? I don't want the vinyl to be showing. And if I didn't get a nice press, then I can use my presser. By the way, all orders for pressers were done if you placed an order. And they're all out the door. We still have 15% off at creativefeet.com using the coupon all uppercase MEMBER. Member. You are a member of the Creative Feet family. If you're watching. Part of my tribe, as they say. So I'm going to go back just a little bit and do that again. Raise the foot, close the zipper. sure I pull back any slack by raising the foot and pulling the thread back to the spool. I had my glasses. Did I borrow them again? I gotta stop doing that. I have like 10 pairs of these readers, and they each have their place that they're supposed to stay. I haven't been very good about that. You want to see a close-up of this in really good focus, because streaming, we don't always get the best resolution. You will see close-up shots of this inside of the school, Create with Clare Rowley, which is in the chat at the top. You see how nice that looks? So instead of just a normal pocket zipper, we have a piped zipper, and it has really nice movement. Nice body, also considering this area, this pocket is going to be holding wet shoes. If the monsoon ever stops being heavy on my days off, I'll be able to go paddleboarding again, and I look forward to using this. So I need to finish it. What do you think? A nice accent? Now we can just take the other side of the bag and bring it up. And you can see that part of the pocket is hanging. So we want to bring that up. And then when you open the pocket, you'll actually see the inside of the pocket there. So I need to get that secured to the front of the bag. I think I can do that. I kind of like the idea of having a little bit of the pocket up on the top so that it's not so tight against the surface. So let's see how this lays when you don't have all this stuff beneath. This would be a pinning. So you just kind of pin so you know that's where the pocket is going to attach. And perhaps I will attach my binding so that this covers up that edge. We'd be losing about roughly an inch. As you can see, that's not straight. Why isn't that straight? Let's look back here. It's because the weight of that made it sag. So repin from the back. Maybe a better idea. So the option would be to do a basting stitch as well, which I think I'll do a basting stitch. Show you how to do a basting stitch using your sewing machine as well. As long as the edge of that pocket gets into the binding, will be good. Do you guys know how to do a basting stitch on your sewing machine so that it comes out real easy? What do you do? Do you guys remember? I've shown basting stitches before on the show. Trying to see if you guys come up with the answer. I'm using a straight stitch. I'm going to sew on the back side because I just want to know that I'm catching the pocket. I can straighten everything out. I just didn't make a very straight pocket because I was winging it, cutting things with scissors. So I'm using a straight stitch, set my tension to 0. And you can use either the Satinedge foot, or you can really use any foot you like for this. So a straight stitch, tension 0, and if you don't know that you can select a 0 tension, you can't. You just got to go into your tension settings and bring it all the way down to the bottom. And then you take your stitch length and take it all the way to the top. I accidentally hit my clock. So stitch length all the way to 5 on my machine. And don't secure it at the end. Don't tie a knot. And just sew cross, and that will give you a basting stitch. Which is easy to remove after you've completed your construction. And I'm sewing this so that I can also see where the edge of that pocket is, to help me when I trim it down to put my binding on. And once again, I'm not going to secure the end of the pocket, and I'm going to stop 1 stitch after, and then grab the thread with your fingers as you pull it out, because if you don't, it will just slide right out and you won't have a stitch there at all. So it's a nice looking stitch that is easy to remove by clipping the bobbin thread. Actually, you'll just be able to pull the bobbin thread and it will just come right out because it's 0 tension. Now on this side, I have a nice guide showing me where that pocket top is, and I have extra room for pulling it out while inserting the shoes into the pocket. This pocket keeps wanting to go over here. Thunder just got really loud. But I don't want it to do that. I want it to lean toward this side over here. So I'm going to stitch that down so it can't move using a basting stitch again. A lot of this has to do with the fact that vinyl is just really slippery, and it also has a static cling, so it grabs things, and we need to get it to behave. I don't have very nice straight edges at all. So if you've ever done that, considering what I'm making, it's not that critical that everything be perfect. But I will be shoring this up before I sew the side seams up on this. And I kept thinking, do I want to gusset? Do you know what a gusset is? If you know what a gusset is, raise your hand or do a thumbs up. I did say gusset before when I was teaching this bag, and people didn't know what a gusset was. So I taught. When you see this video, I taught how to sew a gusset into a bag. So what is a gusset, you guys?